Welcome back to part 2, and this is where I took the dough out of the refrigerator. This is what it ended up looking like when I was done kneading it, and I wrapped it and I put it in the fridge. I ended up leaving it in there for about a half an hour or so. I did a couple other things and got kind of everything else ready while this was sitting, and that's fine. And then I wanted to show you how this other attachment kind of looks. You'll see, let me see if I can get you a super cool view of what this is going to look like when it goes through the roller here. So this is the same mixer, but we're not putting, we're not going to put an attachment there because that's not safe. That can fly off or hurt somebody. You're not supposed to use that if you're using a pasta roller attachment, okay? So I already safely put this, I'm just going to hang it out down here. I already put this safely in here. I made sure it was secure, and I set it to what they call the highest setting, and the highest meaning the widest level of pasta. And for this setting, it's level 1. And I'm going to explain to you what I'm going to do before I do it, because now we're getting into the time where I'm not 100% positive on what I'm doing. So I don't want to try to do two things at the same time. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, and then I'll show you, okay? So I'm going to cut this into fourths, and I'm going to run it through this pasta roller a lot of times on different levels. And I watched my video over here. Hold on. I watched my video over here of the directions, and I wrote them down so that I wouldn't have to go back and forth and take up your time. Okay, so the directions are right here. And then I think what I'll do is when I make the sheets of, actually let me show you. When I make the sheet, and I actually wrote down some more vocabulary words here. So here's sheet, not to be confused with the sheets on your bed. This kind of sheet is something flat, so you could have a sheet of paper, you could have a sheet of pasta. So I wanted to write that word out for you. And when I make those sheets of pasta, since I'm making ravioli, I actually got this off of Amazon, go Amazon. And it's a ravioli maker, because, or pot, like a full mold, excuse me, like a folding thing. So the first time I made this, I tried making ravioli and I folded it and pinched it myself, and it really didn't come out very well. So I tried different flour this time. And what we'll do is when we get those sheets done, we're going to put them into this mold, and we're going to scoop ravioli filling into those little molds, and then we're going to cover it up, and it should look like little ravioli. Remember, when you cook or when you try anything new, it might not go the way we planned. So we'll see if it comes out good, and if not, I can take a look and see where it went wrong. But either way, you always end up learning something, so it's all good. All right, so before we do anything else, we're going to let that actually sit for one more second so it's not too cold. This is the directions for using the mold, so I'm going to leave these right here because even I need directions, all right? And in the filling, what we're going to put, it's in the refrigerator right now, what we're going to put in, or I already put in this filling, excuse me, is I switched off a different measuring unit, and this time I was using a cup. So you can see right there, you can see where up to the cup. So I made a cup, I poured a cup of ricotta cheese, a cup of mozzarella cheese, and a big sprinkling of Parmesan cheese, and an egg. And that made up the filling. So that's what's gonna go in the little ravioli molds when we're done. Okay, all right. So let's put that aside. Oh, and I also sprinkled in a little bit of Italian seasoning just to give it a little more flavor. All right, so let's put that off to the side. And the directions say to cut the pasta into fourths. So if we're talking fractions here, and don't you love the way math comes into play, 4 parts of it. So I'm going to cut it in half first, and that makes 2 parts. And then I'm going to do it again, and that's going to make 4. I'm going to put some flour down, and I'm also going to flour my hands just a touch so that it doesn't get too sticky. Hello again. Just want to leave this here because I really want you to be able to see the pasta, and so hopefully that's not too distracting. And yeah, this is still just a touch sticky, so the flour is going to help a lot. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to cut this into fourths ever so carefully. Please never use a knife without an adult. And you can also use a pasta cutter. All right, so I'm going to cut this into 4 pieces. The directions, the chef in the directions was explaining that if you make it any bigger, it gets kind of hard to work with. And you can see even now it's just a little bit sticky. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put these pieces aside. Let me put them right over here to just kind of hang. Remember, this is super clean. Clorox. I washed my hands before I started, and I even put more of my hair back because I was like, oh, that's not even good enough. So I have my 1/4. Okay, so that was all of my dough. I can't help it. You gotta work with me here. That was a whole ball of dough. I cut it into 4 pieces, so this would be 1/4, 2 of the fourths, 3/4, and then 4/4 would be back to having the whole again. So you see why I love cooking with kids, because you can really get in some good stuff. So the directions said, fold this over maybe like once or twice, and then start running it through the machine. And what I'm going to do is the directions said we're going to go on level 1, and the chef recommended about 15 to 18 times I'm going to run that through. Then I'm going to run it through all the way up to level 8. It goes from 1 to 8. So I'm going to go to, I think, yeah, level 2 is about 3 to 4 times. And then levels 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, I'm going to do once. And by the time I'm done, you're going to see what it looks like. Are you ready? All right, so this is level 1. And I'm just going to count a little bit to myself here. Otherwise, I'm going to get distracted. Are you ready? Okay. Oh, you get a great view. That's awesome. All right, so that's number 1. If you get bored watching, go do something, and then you can come on back. Level, not changing the level, not changing the level. This is time number 2, so this is the second time through. 2. My hands are clean. 3. All right, this is going to take a little bit, so, just hang on here. 4. 5. It's getting really springy. That means like flexible. 5. 6. 7. This is one of those times I kind of wish we could count by 2s, but it's worth the wait. 7. I'm going to add just the teeniest little bit of flour there. I'm seeing it get just a bit sticky. It's making me nervous. All right, 8. Remember, I have no guarantee this is going to work, so, don't judge if it flops. 9. We're about halfway there. 9 and 9 is what, people? 18. So there's 9. 10. 11. Look at how long it's getting. 11. I don't want it to break. 11. This would be so much fun to do in the classroom, but it would really take us all day. 11. Come on out. 11. 12. Can you imagine if we did this at school and there was a fire drill? It's another reason why we're doing this one and during our virtual learning time. All right, I think that was 11 or 12 here. Let's just do 1 or 2 more. Because they said between 15 and 18, so let's do about 3 more times. 1. Oops. 1, 2. After this one, I'm going to switch the little knob here up the levels 1 at a time. And on level 2, hang on, we'll do 1 more here and then we'll switch it to level 2. When I switch it to level 2, I'm going to run it through about 2 or 3 times. Then I'm going to run it through once on every setting up into 8. Okay? So I'm just going to let that hang there because there we go. All right, so let's move it up to level 2. And I'm gonna run it through, he said, about 3 to 4 times. You ready? All right, keep with me here. Let's flip it around. 1. So this is turning it into a sheet. See how flat it's getting? This is the sheet of pasta that we're gonna be working with. So here's 1. Now see, I'm seeing it get a little sticky, so we're gonna just flour that up a little bit. Maybe sprinkle a little flour into there. So that was 1. 2. You have to be super careful with this, even adults, because this can pinch your fingers if you get them too close to the roller. So always let go right at the end and just let it fall through. Okay? Nobody wants to get pinched. All right. I'm just going to add a little more flour there. Let's do this maybe one more time on this setting, and then we're going to go through, because I don't mind this being a little bit on the thicker side for what we're making. Ravioli doesn't have to be too thin. All right, one more here, and then we're going to go 1 at a time all the way up to 8. So this was level 2, and then we're going to go all the way up to 8. There we go. I'm going to turn it off every time just so that I don't make a mistake. So here's level 3. All right. Actually, I think I can move this. Level 4. Yep. Getting really long. Look, this started from flour and eggs, remember? All right, so this is level 4. We only have 4 more to go. And then we'll have a big sheet of pasta to work with. So that's level 4. Remember, this is clean. My counter is clean. All right. I always want to just add a little more flour so it doesn't stick. Here's level 5. It's getting really long. 5. Changed it to 6. We're getting there. 6. Then we'll add our filling and we're going to be all done. Alright, so 6. And it's got to be 7 and 8. Look at how long this sheet of pasta is. I love doing this. This is fun. Alright. Alright. Level 7. Here we go. Just go slow. Don't get all excited and go too fast, because then it'll break. You might have to use more of your arm, but trust me, I'm clean. Seriously, look how long this is. Alright, so this is level 7. It's kind of crinkling at the end there. So, alright, there we go. 1 more, and then we're ready to make our ravioli. Alright, level 8, our last run through. I'm going to kind of hold it in half here to not stretch it out too hard. You ready? Last one. Now, if we wanted to make spaghetti or a fatter kind of spaghetti like fettuccine, we could use this same pasta machine. We would just set it to the cutting roller and send it through there. But since we're making ravioli, I'm just going to use this sheet and I'm going to stuff it with the filling. All right, so that is our sheet of pasta. And that is nice. All right, so we're done with that. All right, so I'm going to put that aside. So the rest of this is actually not going to take very long at all. I'm going to take my filling out of the fridge, because that's where it's been hanging around. And so that's what the filling looks like with the ingredients I showed you before. And the directions, this is the very first time I'm using this, so we'll see how it comes out. All right, so I'm going to read the directions even out loud to you, just to even help myself here. So, place metal frame. This is our metal frame. excuse me, right side up, then dust with flour and lay a sheet of fresh pasta dough on top. So I'm gonna sprinkle it with flour because that will help them come out of the mold when they're done. It helps have it not be sticky, okay? You kind of saw me adding a little bit before when it was going through the roller, because if it gets sticky, then it just kind of breaks apart, okay? I'm gonna do my own hands a little bit in the flour. So for this, I'm actually going to cut, well, let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm gonna cover this with the dough. Are you ready? All right, it needs to be just a little fatter here, so I'm gonna stretch it out. Remember, this is my first time doing this, so we don't know if this is gonna go the way I planned. All right, so it's nice. Yeah, this is gonna work fine. Hang on, I'll show you when I'm done. I will totally show you when I'm done. All right, so I'm gonna cut this super carefully with my knife here. All right, and then I'm just gonna take this piece off. Come on. And I'm gonna put this piece over here. So, oh, you can see it. Awesome. All right, so that's there. Then the directions say to lay pasta on top. Okay, we did that, sorry. Press the mold gently on top to form little dough pockets. So, remember it said gently. So I'm honestly not even pushing it for a second. I'm just gonna let it kind of rest there for a second and we'll see if it works. Okay, I need to press just a little harder. All right, let's see. Oh, one more time. All right. Oh, there we go. Oh, good, you can see. All right, I love that. Okay, just do it one more time. I know I'm being too gentle, but I just have not done this before. Okay, excuse me. So the next step is to put the filling into the little pastas, into the little raviolis, okay? And the direction said not to overstuff them. Don't stuff them too much. What's gonna happen if we put too much in there, it's gonna like go right out the sides. So I'm even gonna do even smaller just to be on the safe side. I really don't want them exploding. That's kind of what happened when I made them myself the last time. So let's see if this works. We're gonna take about a tablespoon and let me get a little something to scoop it out. And I can't find what I'm looking for at the moment, but this will do. Okay, so I'm gonna put a little scoop of this filling right in that little hole. And that looks nice, I guess. Check it out, it worked. All right, so we are not dealing with the phone right now. All right, so I am gonna scoop this filling and fill up every little ravioli filling spot, every little pocket, if you will. Oops. See, that one has just a little too much. I can see what they're talking about when it comes to overstuffing them. But let me just go down to a half a teaspoon. I'm not going to fill up the whole thing because, like I said, I would rather have it be on the smaller side, especially for my first time making these. So this, we can even chat math for a second while I'm filling these up. We've got an array here, multiplication people. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns, and we have 2 rows. So we're gonna end up making, actually let me use a smaller one. We're gonna end up making 12 altogether. So 6 times 2, you know it, is 12. All right, when I'm done filling these up, I take this other sheet of pasta that we made, and if you were with me, we would have made it together, but that's all right. Like I said, this would have been, you see why this might have been super hard to do at school. But we've had school ones that work really well. We made our cinnamon buns, we made English muffin pizzas that time. We were doing all right. We would have made more. So, I only have 3 more to go. 3 more to go. My hands are clean, not to worry. All right. And I'm kind of the only one eating the testers. And then if this comes out good, I will spend the rest of the afternoon cooking up the rest of my dough and sharing it with my family and Scott's family. Because it's a pandemic, and if they came out good, it's nice to share. All right, I'm getting a little too much at the end there. All right, so we have our 12. Let me just wipe my hands again. And I am gonna take the second sheet Actually, I'm gonna mix it. I'm just gonna, not mix it, but I'm gonna press it together just a little bit so that it's kind of back to one sheet. And it's okay if it has a little extra flour on it, because remember that keeps it from being too sticky. So I'm gonna lay this sheet right over this one, and I'm gonna kind of cover it down onto the little pockets of ravioli. Are you ready? I hope this works. All right, I'm gonna kind of lay it down in the middle, and I'm gonna go nice and slow and try to cover. Looks like I'm kind of getting a little short on the ends there, so let's see if I can do that and then break this off and kind of piece it together here. So there's like a little extra at the edges, so next time when I do this again, what I'm gonna do is make it a little bit wider, because I'm finding, see how it's kind of skinny at the edges? Like I said, the first time, people, so we're not gonna stress over those little things. But see, I have still a little bit of this flattened dough. So I'm gonna just squish this out, because I'm just making every single one. And I'm gonna stretch it over this last little ravioli here so he has a hat. All right, that little ravioli is not gonna have a hat. And like we said, this was not gonna be perfect. So that's how that goes. All right, so we're gonna kind of push this down. I'm gonna use my hands because I wanna do it really, really gently. And they said to kind of keep an eye out for air bubbles. We don't necessarily want the air bubbles. So I'm kind of pushing it down on the corners here. I'm sure you can, yeah, you can see that. So I'm kind of pushing all around the corners. And the corners have these little ridges on them, which are super cute, and I hope they come out that way. Because like I said, you can see here, see, there was enough pasta to cover that one. Not important. Not important. Okay, so press the sheets together with the flat of your hand. I did that. Turn the frame upside down to release the ravioli. If some get stuck, tap on one end of the frame, pull away the dough, and separate the ravioli. Are you guys ready? Oh, I'd be so curious to see if this works. All right. Let's see. I'm going to gently tap them out here. I think this dough on the end here is making this side stick, so let's just help it along gently. If we get all crabby, thinking we have to go super fast, then maybe I should have floured this a little bit more. But I'm going to be patient. Let's just kind of help tuck those out a little bit. And remember, not everything is going to be perfect the first time, not even the second time. But we're learning, and even if we have a couple, you can see, like I'm thinking, okay, next time we're going to flour this up just a little bit harder so that, you know, you just learn every time you do it. So come on, unstick. Not horrible. Totally dusting this with more flour next time. That's all right. All right, so now, excuse me, now what I'm going to do is ever so carefully cut them along those same lines. And actually, let me get a plate. And then I can put them on the plate and see how many come out looking like ravioli. All right, so let's see how our end ones did. Well, I have to say, this little machine here, this little mold, helped a lot better. I will show you the pictures later of what my ravioli looked like the first time I made them by hand. This little press was way easier. That totally looks like a ravioli. It totally does. All right. So just gonna pinch a couple of these because we were running out of dough there. And I'm using my knife as an adult, and I'm doing it super carefully. And I'm just kind of turning them over and checking to see if any of the, oh yeah, see this one? This is the one that didn't have enough. So I'm just gonna put that one aside because I don't want it to sort of explode out when the other ones are trying to cook. All right, let's see how many we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's pinch this one. 5 All right, we're gonna put that one aside because that one was leaking cheese. So when I do this again this afternoon, and I'm not gonna make another video, but when I do it again this afternoon, I'm gonna take what I've learned from this time and do it a little bit differently. So like I said, I think the dough needs to be a little bit wider. I think that I need to put a little bit more flour on the mold so that they pop out a little bit easier, but I'm happy with them. They look like ravioli. I'm gonna, actually, you know what I'll do? Nope, we're gonna sacrifice that one. The best thing about this too, guys, if they're kind of leaking cheese for now, I'm not, again, I think I might have got a little happy throwing in the cheese, but the ingredients are so simple that, you know, yes, it takes a lot of time, but honestly, if you have the time and you have the machine, it's really kind of relaxing and fun. So, sorry, I just got distracted. But I am gonna cook up those and taste them, and I'm sure they're all right. And then I'm gonna cook up the rest and, make up the rest and share with our families. I hope you found this fun to watch. We're gonna just ignore those guys. We're gonna be happy with those guys, and I miss you. I'll see you soon. Bye.